An Israeli investigation into the killing of Palestinian emergency workers by the IDF finds there was a series of failures. The deadly attack on a convoy of ambulances and fire crews last month caused a global outcry. The IDF has now dismissed a deputy brigade commander for giving an inaccurate report of the shootings. Also tonight, an Easter truce is over in Ukraine, but President Trump says a deal can still be done this week and big business with the US will follow. The Pope finds the strength to bless the faithful and tour in his Pope-mobile after an Easter Mass in St. Peter's Square. And
Alexander-Arnold! Now it's in!
Trent Alexander-Arnold puts Liverpool on the cusp of title glory and shows fans what they might soon be missing.
This is ITV News with Romilly Weeks.
Good evening. Israel has tonight admitted what it calls professional failures in the killings of 15 Palestinian aid workers and has fired a deputy brigade commander responsible. The emergency workers came under attack by the IDF as they attempted to carry out a rescue mission in southern Gaza last month. Their bodies were discovered in a mass grave alongside their crushed emergency vehicles. In the internal IDF investigation, a series of failures and breaches of orders were identified, but Israel continues to claim there was no indiscriminate firing or executions. The Palestinian Red Crescent responded, saying the report was full of lies. And a warning, Sam Holder's report contains details and images from the incident.
An operational misunderstanding. That is the Israeli Defense Forces' explanation for why more than a dozen Palestinian emergency workers were killed. Israel had initially claimed this convoy in Gaza in March had been travelling with no lights, clearly disproven by video which was later recovered. An IDF internal investigation now says that poor visibility was to blame for the vehicles not being recognised as ambulances. Those on board came under fire for at least 5 minutes. They could be heard praying. 15 minutes after this, a UN vehicle was attacked by the same soldiers. The report blamed this on a breach of orders. In a statement, the IDF said the examination identified several professional failures, breaches of orders, and a failure to fully report the incident. The deputy commander of the Golani Reconnaissance Battalion will be dismissed from his position due to his responsibilities as the field commander in this incident and for providing an incomplete and inaccurate report during the debrief. But Palestinian NGOs don't accept the findings and want an independent investigation.
There was lights, designated emblem, cars, and it was the individuals were with their uniform. So it's shown, and at the same time they were shot, killed, and then buried by this way. I think these claims is unacceptable.
After the 15 were killed, their bodies were buried. It was a week before rescue teams were able to recover them. They found the emergency vehicles had been crushed. The IDF report accepts this decision by soldiers had been wrong, but provides no further explanation. The report also claims that 6 of those killed were Hamas terrorists. No supporting evidence has been offered. The IDF says it regrets the harm caused to uninvolved civilians, but they still have not approved any kind of external or independent investigation. Sam Holder, ITV News.
President Donald Trump has said tonight he hopes a deal between Russia and Ukraine can be agreed this week that would allow both countries to do big business with the United States. He posted the comments online as a 30-hour Easter truce declared by Russia's President Putin drew to an end. Throughout the day, both Moscow and Kyiv have accused each other of breaking the ceasefire. Ukraine's President Zelensky claimed his country had been attacked thousands of times, though said there'd been no long-range attacks by Russia. With the latest, here's Graham Stothard.
Outside the ruins of a bombed-out church in northern Ukraine, worshippers marked Easter Sunday. They came here from the nearby city of Lukashivka. Fearful Russian forces may target large gatherings despite Putin's promise of a truce. In this Easter message from President Zelensky, he said he hoped for a day of peace, but on X made it clear today is not that day, claiming they'd seen 2,000 Russian assaults. Ukrainian police released these photos from the east of the country, of damage they say was caused by Russian shelling. Reports corroborated by the country's lawmakers.
So I reached out to the people I know on the front lines, and they all confirmed hours after the ceasefire was supposed to take place, the Russians were shelling the Ukrainian positions with artillery.
Despite this, President Zelensky has suggested today could still form the basis for some kind of deal, saying with no air raid alerts, it's a ceasefire format that could easily be extended to 30 days. No word yet, though, from Putin. He spent the day in Moscow, where he attended an Orthodox Sunday service. The Kremlin's accused Ukraine of breaking today's ceasefire, although provided no evidence. All this comes just 2 days after President Trump threatened to walk away from negotiations.
We're going to just take a pass. But
tonight he posted on his social media platform Truth Social saying, hopefully Russia and Ukraine will make a deal this week, renewing some hope that this Easter truce could turn into something more. Graham Stothard, ITV News.
Huge crowds cheered an unexpected appearance by the Pope as he wished them a happy Easter from the Vatican balcony before being carried through the faithful on his Pope-mobile, stopping several times to bless babies and small children. The 88-year-old is recovering after being treated for pneumonia in both lungs. He was also well enough today for a brief meeting with the US Vice President J.D. Vance, as Aisha Zahid reports.
Tens of thousands gathered to see the Pope. He's the embodiment of faith for millions of Catholics. And today there was relief as he made his first significant appearance since leaving hospital. Though he missed the morning mass, in the afternoon these crowds watched on as he shared some words from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica.
Cari fratelli e sorelle.
Dear brothers and sisters, happy Easter, he said. The 88-year-old is still recovering after being treated for pneumonia. On his behalf, this blessing was shared.
Così come tutto il popolo israeliano.
I express my closeness to the suffering for all the Israeli people and the Palestinian people. Call a ceasefire, release the hostages, and come to the aid of a starving people that aspires to a future of peace.
After being met with cheers and chants of long live the Pope, the pontiff greeted the crowds from the Pope-mobile. Passing through, his procession was paused to bless babies and to hand gifts to children.
We are very happy that we can saw a Pope in a good shape.
I've come from Mexico just to come here, and now that he's already come out, for me it's a miracle. It's something very big, very beautiful.
The day started much earlier as the Pope sat down with US Vice President J.D. Vance, though the meeting was kept brief. Today's been his longest public appearance since falling ill, and the message of peace he shared remains as important as ever as violence and conflicts around the world rage on. Aisha Zahid, ITV News.
Here, the King and Queen attended St George's Chapel in Windsor Castle for the Easter Sunday service. Prince Andrew also joined them. It's the first time the Duke of York's been seen at a royal family event for a year. His ex-wife, the Duchess of York, the Princess Royal and Prince Edward were among the congregation. The Prince and Princess of Wales, though, spent the weekend on holiday in Norfolk. Meanwhile, the traditional Easter message, normally delivered by the Archbishop of Canterbury, was given instead by the Archbishop of York, following Justin Welby's resignation. The sermon at York Minster called for peace in a troubled world. Police are appealing for information after several statues in Parliament Square were vandalised during a protest yesterday. Transgender campaigners gathered in Westminster to protest against a ruling by the Supreme Court on the definition of a woman for the purposes of legislation. Graffiti was found on 7 statues, including those of Millicent Fawcett and Viscount Palmerston. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, has accused Nigel Farage of peddling nonsense and lies by blaming the government's net zero commitments for causing the crisis in the UK steel industry. And our political correspondent, Shihab Khan, joins me now. Shihab, this is becoming a bit of a dividing line in Westminster, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It appears that the government and opposition parties have a very different line when it comes to net zero. At the moment, the government target is to get net zero carbon emissions that target in place by 2050. That was actually first introduced by the Conservative government, the previous Conservative government. But at the moment, the leader of opposition, Kemi Badenoch, seems to be deviating from that slightly, whereas Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, has been very vocal about the fact that he doesn't agree with it. He's described net zero lunacy as one of the ideas that British Steel got into trouble recently and why the government had to step in. Ed Miliband has hit back at those critics, in particular Nigel Farage, and writing in The Observer, he said, "They will also make up any old nonsense and lies to pursue their ideological agenda," their latest example being their attempt to use the crisis facing the steel industry for their deeply damaging agenda. He then goes on later in this piece that he's written when he says, "So, if our political opponents want to fight about clean energy, bring it on. We will take the fight to them." And that's exactly what it appears both Ed Miliband, the Energy Secretary, and the government want to do when it comes to net zero. And there's a number of reasons why. Firstly, they think the climate crisis is a huge issue and they want to do their bit for that. On top of that, there's a lot of talk about clean energy growth. They don't want to fall behind as different countries invest more money into clean energy. Then there's the reliance on foreign fossil fuels. They want to make sure that's no longer a thing. But Romilly, you're right, that dividing line is becoming more and more distinct.
Shihab, thanks for that. To sport, Oscar Piastri has won the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix in Jeddah. The Australian beat world champion Max Verstappen into second place, with Britain's Lando Norris finishing third. It was Piastri's third win of the season and gives him a 10-point lead in the drivers' standings. Finally, Liverpool are now just a win away from being crowned Premier League champions. A goal from Trent Alexander-Arnold, whose future at the club remains uncertain, secured the victory over Leicester, who will now be relegated. But Arsenal kept the title race alive for at least another week after they beat Ipswich 4-0. Chris Scudder watched all the action.
Here come Arsenal. The job for Arsenal was keep Liverpool waiting for the title as long as possible. It was never really in doubt once they scored first. Trossard's opener was followed by a second from Martinelli, enough to keep that Liverpool champagne on ice. The game's big talking point was Leif Davis's reckless challenge on Bukayo Saka. Arsenal can ill afford to lose him with a Champions League semi to come. Davis was sent off. Saka was okay. For the record, Arsenal scored 2 more. The outlook for Ipswich, though, is bleak. They're going down. Leicester are going down too, but at least they tried to go out with a bang against the champions-elect. By then, Liverpool and Mo Salah had already become acquainted with both posts. Harder to miss than score for a man of his calibre.
And there was no flag.
It looked like the free-scoring runaway Premier League leaders were having a rare off day in front of goal until Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's tipped to leave Liverpool for Real Madrid this summer, made it clear to those fans who might feel betrayed by his expected departure that his heart will always be red. 1-0 confirmed Leicester's relegation, but Liverpool must wait another week to clinch a joint record 20th English title. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And that's it for tonight from all the team here. Good night.